I never thought one night could change the way I looked at the man I had loved for over a decade. Marriage, I always believed, was built on trust, shared moments, and the silent promise that we would face life together. For years, I thought I knew everything about my husband, his favorite tea, the way he laughed when he was nervous, the long pauses he took before answering hard questions. I thought I could read him as clearly as the pages of a well-worn book. But that night, the truth finally surfaced, and it left me both broken and whole at the same time. It started as an ordinary evening. The children had gone to bed early, and the silence in the house felt unusually heavy. My husband, Daniel, was sitting at the dining table with papers scattered around him. He looked tired, but not the kind of tired that comes from a long day at work. It was something deeper, a weight he seemed to carry inside. I noticed his hands trembling slightly as he folded one sheet of paper, set it aside, and then picked it up again. "Long day?" I asked softly, trying to lighten the mood. He glanced up at me, his eyes shadowed with something I couldn't quite recognize. "Yeah, long day." His voice was even, but I caught the crack in it. I moved closer, reaching out to rest my hand gently on his shoulder. The warmth of his skin seeped into my palm, grounding me, even as I felt the distance in his body. He leaned into my touch for a fleeting second, then pulled back as if burned by his own guilt. "Daniel, what is it?" I whispered, my heart tightening. "You're not yourself tonight." For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. He buried his face in his hands, and I watched him, torn between fear and love. When he finally lifted his gaze, his eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "There's something I've been keeping from you," he said slowly, the words tasting like pain on his tongue. I froze. 1,000 possibilities ran through my mind. Illness, financial trouble, a mistake from the past. But the way he said it, the heaviness of his tone, made me realize it wasn't something simple. This was bigger. "Tell me," I urged, my voice steady even though my body was trembling. "Please, Daniel. Whatever it is, I'd rather know than live in the dark." He looked away, staring at the flickering candle we had lit earlier. Shadows danced across his face, making him look older than he was. Finally, with a shuddering breath, he began. "All these years," he said, "I've been hiding a part of who I am. Not because I wanted to deceive you, but because I was afraid. Afraid you wouldn't look at me the same way. Afraid I'd lose the only person who ever truly loved me." My breath caught in my throat. His words felt like both a confession and a plea. I sat down across from him, folding my hands tightly in my lap. "What do you mean?" I asked gently. Daniel hesitated, then stood up and walked to the window. The night outside was calm, the moon casting a pale glow over our garden. He pressed his forehead to the glass, as though he needed the coolness to steady himself. "When I was younger," he said, "I made choices I thought would bury my past forever. I told myself I could start over with you, that our love would erase what I had been through. But the truth doesn't stay buried, no matter how deep you push it down." His voice cracked again, and I felt my chest tighten. My mind spun with questions, but I held them back, sensing he needed space to unravel his truth in his own time. "I grew up in a house where love wasn't safe," he continued, his voice low. "My father was strict and my mother, she was silent, too silent. When I left home, I thought I could leave the scars behind. But the truth is, I've been living with fear all my life. Fear that I'll never be good enough. Fear that you'll see the cracks in me." I rose quietly and went to him, standing just behind his shoulder. "Daniel," I whispered, "you are good enough. You've always been good enough for me." He turned then, his eyes glistening with tears he could no longer hide. "You don't understand. I've built walls around myself so high, even you couldn't see past them. And it's not fair to you. You've given me everything, and I've given you only half of who I am." His words hit me like a storm. All the years we had shared, the laughter, the quiet nights, the struggles, we had faced them together, or so I thought. And yet here he was, confessing that he had hidden a part of his soul from me. "What is it you think I can't handle?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He swallowed hard, then reached into the drawer of the table. He pulled out a small box, worn at the edges, and held it out to me. My hands shook as I took it. When I opened it, I saw old letters, photographs, and documents. Each one was a fragment of a past I had never known. "This is me," he said quietly. "The part of me I've kept locked away. The mistakes, the pain, the dreams I was too afraid to tell you about." I sifted through the box, my heart aching with each piece of paper I touched. There were letters he had written but never sent, confessions of his struggles, notes about moments he had hidden behind his smile. There were photographs of him as a young man, looking lost, fragile in ways I had never seen him before. Tears blurred my vision as I looked up at him. "Why didn't you trust me with this sooner?" "Because I didn't trust myself," he admitted. "I thought if you saw this part of me you'd walk away. That night after night, I'd lose you bit by bit." I set the box down and stepped closer, placing my hands over his heart. I could feel the wild thrum of it beneath my palms. "Daniel, love isn't about perfection. It's about seeing each other completely, light and shadow, strength and weakness, and choosing to stay anyway." For the first time in years, I saw his walls crumble. He folded into me, resting his head against my shoulder, his body trembling as though a great weight had finally lifted. I held him, stroking his back slowly, letting him know I wasn't going anywhere. That night, we talked for hours. He told me stories of his past, of the boy who had longed for safety, the young man who had tried to build a new life, the husband who loved fiercely but feared deeply. I listened, not judging, not interrupting, just holding space for him. The truth spilled out in waves, raw and unpolished, and with every word, I felt us growing closer. By the time dawn touched the sky, my heart was heavy yet full, heavy with the knowledge of his hidden battles, but full with the realization that our love was stronger than his fear. He had finally let me see him, completely, vulnerably, honestly. And in that truth, we found something new. Not a perfect love, but a real one. One that could stand even in the face of secrets, because it was built on forgiveness, understanding, and the quiet promise of tomorrow. That was the night my husband's truth finally came to light. And though it shook me, though it broke me in ways I didn't expect, it also mended me. For in his truth, I found the deepest kind of love, the kind that stays.